Hello YouTube, this is Sean the Divine Diva coming at you with my NACA Journey Reboot, giving you an update on my appointment with my MC that was held on February 26th. The prior update video, I was preparing for that appointment. I have to point out that when you get your appointments from your MC or mortgage counselor, you do get a list of action items or things to upload to your web file. You're assigned a NACA ID number and you go to their website and you're able to upload the documents and information. So I just have to share with you that I had uploaded all the things that I had in my possession. I have to say that many of the items that I uploaded were kind of based on just the standard things that you have to do, whether it be income, W-2, tax information, things of that nature. Now, what ended up happening is I did have a prior action plan from my initial journey. And so those were things that I had been working on during the pandemic and things like that. When I decided that I wanted to do my reboot back in December, I just kind of picked up that old plan and looked at those things, pulled up my credit report. Now I have to caution you that NACA does not review your circumstances the same way the standard industry does, housing industry does. The housing industry tends to use a risk model, and NACA is more of a character based. They look at your individual circumstances, and they have you divided into groups of priority versus non-priority. Priority members are those that are low to moderate income. Non-priority are considered higher income. In either case, you can still get the fantastic low rates of NACA. So I said all that to say that on my appointment day, met with my counselor. He reviewed my current set of circumstances and got some feedback. So in February, I had been on my new job right at 2 months. For some, that may be problematic, but I had done some prior reading in one of the forums that talked about when you leave a job and go to another, if you're within that same industry, it's looked at differently, particularly if your income uh, has increased and you have less than a 30-day gap in employment. I think that was the primary um, consideration for NACA. How long are you without um, work or between jobs? So anyway, what ended up happening is I end up with a litany of new action items, most of which were letters of explanation for different things, such as there were different versions of my name on the credit report. One may have had an initial or a shortened version of my name, or I had multiple addresses, many of which were very old. I don't even know why they show up. I haven't used my address, my physical address on different documents in years, and those addresses were very old. So I had to do letters of explanation. And in addition to doing that, it's my intent to get those removed. You can contact credit bureaus to get erroneous information removed or duplicate information removed. And so those were a part of my action items. I also had to address student loans, and I remember sharing that I thought that was a muddy area, so I was told that I could go and do the loan simulator, which tells you what your payment may be, or it gives you a range, but it tells you what your payment may be once they go into repayment. And currently, my student loans are in deferment, and many people's are right now due to the pandemic. But in any case, so that was also another action item. I had to do statements regarding some weird inquiry on my report that I actually had no idea who it was. So that was something else that I had to research. And you have to maintain the most current statements. So you keep uploading your statements throughout this process, whether it be your bank statements, your credit card statements, etc. And so those were all action items, my W-2s, and as well as tax returns for the last 2 years. So both tax returns and tax transcripts. I had not filed my taxes for 2020, and so that was definitely going to be an outstanding item. So ultimately, at the end of that appointment, I can't really say I was frustrated, but my list was just so much longer than I thought. And even though you get templates for the LOEs and things like that, I had to kind of shake it off. Like, you're trying to get a house, Sean, so get with the program. And basically, I think a lot of it just had to do with, again, life happening and me trying to kind of catch up and get back into an everyday flow of things. If you watch my prior videos, I alluded to several major changes in my life. And so, in any case, I'm still excited about the process. I was, I got my little list. I mean, y'all, it was a long list. This is page 2. Page 1 shows all your personal information. One of the main concerns, though, or rather, not a concern, but one of the main items is minimum required funds. And so at that appointment, because all my information wasn't in, or all the information I thought I needed, because there were still some outstanding pieces, my MC did not really go through the full profile, but we talked a lot about the savings shock, how much I would need to start saving. And so payment shock is the difference between what you currently pay in a rental obligation and what you like to pay for a mortgage. So for example, if you currently pay $1,000 for rent, but you say, hey, I want a mortgage of $1,300. Well, your payment shock is going to be the difference between those two numbers, which is $300. And there may even be some surplus, but you have to save at least those $300 month over month, and that's called your payment shock. So it's the difference between what you're currently paying and what you are willing to pay for your mortgage. Now, if for some reason your mortgage amount is going to be lower, then that changes your circumstances entirely. So we went over some of my debt information, which is really primarily student loans, small balance on my credit cards that I've been paying off, and I mentioned that in the past as well. And the only other thing that I really had to focus on was really just saving, just trying to throw money in the bank. And I do want to share, I have multiple accounts, and I know this is not ideal. A lot of the counselors and people in the group talk about this. And, but I reduced my accounts to 3 accounts, which is basically a checking and 2 savings accounts. The intent being one savings account to be specifically for my minimum required funds, and the other, additional savings that I could use at a later time for buy down expenses, housing emergencies, etc. My emergency fund. And so, what's interesting about um, what I've already set up, and when I went to that appointment, was that the statement shows where I have a certain amount payroll deducted going straight to the savings, and that savings is my savings shock. It goes straight there. With your accounts, you have to show some increase or you can't dip below. And so because I did know that early on back in December, I was able to already start establishing that pattern. So I was okay with my appointment, how it ended. What I didn't like is that my next appointment, I knew it was going to be far out. And so my next appointment was scheduled for June 11th. Yeah, June 11th. But again, the main thing to do is to continue working on the file in between time, and maybe pray for a miracle or send the MC an email. In the meantime, I've been on the Facebook forums, both the NACA official and unofficial forum. I've been reading everything. And look, first and foremost, the Bible. Okay, the NACA workbook. It's really funny because a lot of the people in the group ask a lot of questions, and I'm a reader. NACA, if you see this video, I would suggest getting somebody to put this on an audiobook, because some people just will not read it. But anyway, so the NACA book is very helpful. It really does explain everything. Some of it is challenging to understand, so that's why I like to go in the forums in the group. You oftentimes get to talk with other participants. realtors and other people who may be associated with NACA that want to help. And so I would recommend just going on Facebook and searching for the NACA groups on Facebook, and also using the NACA forums, because many of the questions that you would have about this process, they're going to be in that forum. So next follow will be June 11th. I will be working on removing things from my credit report that are erroneous or that are duplicates. I will say that I'm not doing any more disputes. I mentioned that I had done some disputes in the past, but I'm leaving that alone because NACA, none of the things that I had to dispute that were errors, NACA hadn't even brought it up. And I guess it's not on there anymore, so I do need to check. That might be a good idea. But in any case, I'll come back with another update video for the June 11th appointment. In the meantime, I'm working on my minimum required funds, and I'm curbing my enthusiasm when it comes to spending. I'm working on my budget. That is a requirement. I'm going to link down below all the things that are standard for your initial intake appointment. And many of those things, you know, once you get past your foundational documents, you'll have to keep uploading pay stubs, tax returns. If you go beyond this year, you'll have to do next year's tax return. If you're a W-2 person, you need to be prepared to show all your information for this past 12 months. If you are a business owner, you need to be prepared for 2 months. I am not an expert. Okay, that's my disclaimer. So if I say anything erroneous in this video, it is not intentional. And my disclaimer is go to the NACA website and read your NACA workbook. Okay, so have a great day. Talk to you later. Bye.